Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin in 2 minutes. Please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The program will begin in 1 minute.
Good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing? Come on, do me a favor, turn left to right and tell someone you look good. Now turn left to right one more time and say, but I look better. How many of you guys are ready to learn a whole lot this morning? Say, that's me. Come on, how many of you guys want to learn a real lot this morning about growing your company? Say, that's me. You're in for a real treat. Our next speaker is quite brilliant. She travels all over the world. For more than a dozen years, she's been on the road helping this little small company you probably heard of called Google expand their message to all different business owners, different groups, small groups, large groups, and she loves what she does. She definitely owns the space, no doubt about that, but I can tell you this, that the content she's going to give you guys today could make a massive impact on your business. So at this time, do me a favor, turn off all your cell phones or put them on vibrate mode. I don't want you to miss anything that she has to say. Obviously, someone that's very committed to helping small business, and we're very honored to have Google and their entire team to be a part of these events because it makes a difference. I mean, we all use Google every day, but it's nice to be able to have them face-to-face where you can ask questions, learn more, and be a part of that educational model. Would you guys be excited about some of that? Say yes. Turn left to right and say, I have. Come on, loud, LA. I have big things to do. Now turn left to right and say, you don't know who you're sitting next to. Because one person could change your life forever. Does that make sense? Now listen, we have great workshops upstairs all day. We have great workshops in here all day as well. So make sure before you leave you get some flyers for all the workshops all day. And I can tell you this, that if you'll just get plugged in and really get connected to some of the information, it'll make a massive impact in your business. So my name is Bill Walsh. We're the titanium sponsor for this event. We started with this team 6 years ago and there was nobody here. We were in 2 cities. Today it's more than 100,000 attendees in 18 cities. So I want you to write this down. You have to believe in yourself when nobody else does. You have to believe in yourself when nobody else does. And as a matter of fact, right after this keynote from Google, I'm going to stay right here with you guys and do a whole presentation on public speaking. How to be better online, offline, how to connect, how to use local events to actually grow your companies through the art of public speaking. How many of you guys would like to become public speakers? Put your hands up high and say, that's me. How many of you guys just would like to become better communicators? Awesome. So let's get ready for this amazing presentation. Let's give a huge round. Everybody stand up for me first. Stand up. Come on, stand up. She deserves a round of applause standing up. Anastasia, come on, get up. Anastasia Kedros is in the house. Come on. Give it up. Kudros, she's in the house. Let's go. Anastasia, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I know she is.
Here it comes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Great work. You rock.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. How are you all doing today? Great. My name is Stasia, and thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. I have been a small business owner, so I understand how difficult it is to be away from your businesses, your clients, your customers for a period of time. So for the next hour, I'm going to try to share as much information as I can that can help your businesses grow and thrive online. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So again, my name is Stasia, and I have been speaking for Google for more than 12 years, but I've been in the internet marketing industry for more than 20. So I've worked with clients, helping them do everything from search engine optimization to using online advertising, email marketing. And at the end of it, having worked with clients large and small for so many years, Google invited me to come and start talking to small business owners about how they can use these tools to grow their businesses. So I've actually done it, which is why I have the best job in the world and I get to travel around and talk about it. So that's why I'm here. The team that I work on right now is called Get Your Business Online with Google. Changed its names a few times. Last year it was Let's Put Our Cities on the Map. But Get Your Business Online with Google is focused on helping small businesses grow and succeed. And we have lots of tools and resources that can help you learn about the things that you can do to succeed online. So today's presentation is going to be focused on tips for measuring online success. And I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can track and measure it using tools from Google. So let's start with the most basic question. Why would you even bother doing this? And we'll talk about that, and we'll show you ways to evaluate your website. Then we'll talk about how to evaluate the performance of your Google My Business listing. If you don't know what that is, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And third, I'll talk about how to evaluate the performance of your online advertising campaigns. So a whole bunch of stuff to cover in the next hour. Hi, everybody. Come on in. My name is Stasia. And today we're talking about tips for measuring online success. So let's start by talking about some scenarios, so just to pull it offline. So we're trying to figure out why this even matters. So have you ever been in a coffee shop and you ordered a coffee, and you said, I want a little bit of cream in my coffee, right? And then you got the coffee back and it was basically like a cup full of milk, right? So because a little bit of cream, a little bit of milk means something different to one person to the next person. Or let's think of a different example. Let's think about going for a hike. My friends often drag me on hikes. My dad used to drag me on hikes when I was a kid. And so when you're hiking along, you usually see these signs, and the signs say you've got 5 miles left, or 3 miles left, or half a mile left, right? But can you imagine if those signs said, you got a long way, you're getting closer, you're almost there, wicked close now, right? So it's giving you sort of the flavor of that information, but it's not giving you actual actionable data-based information that can help you make decisions. And so the tools I'm going to be showing you today can help you apply that. So rather than knowing, well, you're almost there, well, you know, here's the number. And so you can track and measure against that. Another thing to think about is when we're using tools to measure success, it's also easy to get a number. And so, I'll be showing you tools that give you numbers, but I also want you to start thinking about context. And context, in the case of online marketing, is who are your people? What do they do? What do they like? Where do they live? And using that information, it can really help you get a better insight into what those numbers mean. If we go back to that hiking example that I just talked about, let's say you had a sign, you're hiking along and you saw a sign that said you had a half a mile left to go on the hike. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, that's not too bad, right? But what you didn't know is the context. You didn't know if that last half of a mile was on a completely flat, easy trail, or if it was scaling up rocks, right? Which would make it very, very different. So when we're showing you the tools today, I want you to think about the numbers and then the context that they're being used in. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about which channels lead people to your website. We'll be talking about understanding website and app performance. I'll talk about your audience, and then I'll talk about using resources wisely. So the reason that you want to do this is that you're going to be probably using lots of different ways to bring people to your online presence. You might have heard them called channels. And when you hear the word channel, it just means a way. Are we driving people to your site by email? Are we driving people to your site using search engine optimization? Are we using online advertising? Well, what we're trying to do is figure out which one of these channels or which combination of these channels really makes sense for your business that are helping you achieve your online goals. And then the other thing for tracking and measuring, understanding performance, is it's going to also show you what you're going to be focusing your efforts on. Here's the perfect example. Well, I think it's a perfect example. So I checked into my hotel yesterday, and on the way, the hotel chain had been pushing this idea where I could now, instead of getting a key at the front desk, I could use my phone. And I was like, oh, that's cool, I'll try that. And so I went through the whole process, and I'd been getting lots of emails and promotions for that, and I'm on, in my cab getting over to the hotel, and the app only got me so far, and then it froze every single time. And I tried it like 4 times, and I was unable to get in and actually get this key with my phone. And it was a very frustrating experience for me as a user, as a guest. And so what I might want to do is actually use my analytics report to say, okay, well, what stage are people getting to? Where are they stopping? And if I see with my reports that, oh, look, we've got all these people who are getting so far, but then stopping right here, that's a signal. That tells me that, okay, there might be a problem with my website, with my app. And so you're going to use those reports not to proactively measure the performance, and also see if there are places where you can make improvements, like making your app actually work. Another thing that you can do is you can understand your audience. So as one example, we are able to look at reports. So one small business owner that I work with, I've been working with her for several years, but she's actually my esthetician. She's a lady who waxes my eyebrows back in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live now. And so her business is called Bellmead Aesthetics. And one of the things that we've found is that when we look at her reports, at her Google My Business reports, lots and lots of people are contacting her by actually calling her phone number. And we can tell because people are clicking that phone number with her Google My Business listing straight from their mobile devices. So we can actually track those calls. And so that tells her that it's going to be really important to make sure that that phone number is front and center and that she's responsive to it. And another thing that she did, because she is a one-woman business, as I'm assuming many of you all are, one person or a very lean, mean operation, so she knows that she can't answer the phone all day long because she's waxing eyebrows and doing stuff like that. So she actually set up an online booking system, which has helped tremendously now, because now rather than having to go through, which she did before, answer the phone calls and make the appointments in the books, she's giving them that tool, and that has really helped her business grow and thrive. And she can get that information from these reports. Okay, so when we look at the reports, we realize that there are many, many things that you can look at, lots of data. And one question that you might have is, well, what is actually important to track and what is not? And the answer depends. It depends on you. It depends on what you're trying to do with your online presence. How many of you out here already have a website for your business? Okay, so one thing that and that's about more than half of you, which is great. Did you know that about half of small businesses in the United States do not have a website yet, which is kind of astonishing. So it's about 50-50. The one thing, though, that I have experienced working with business owners, large and small, is that when I went in for a meeting to talk about developing a website and helping them build it, one of the first questions that I would ask a business owner is, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? And the answer is usually, well, I need a website. And then I kind of push a little harder, and I'm like, well, why do you want a website? They're like, well, because your business needs a website. And that's sort of a point where people get stuck, where they think, I know I need to have this, and I know this is important, but they can't really vocalize why. And so for everyone in the room, whether you haven't got your site yet or you've had your site for 10 years, I want you to take a step back and take a hard look and think, well, what is it that I want my website to accomplish for my business? Do I want to get people to sign up for appointments? Do I want people to fill out this form? Do I want people to give me a phone call? Do I want them to get directions to my store? So once you know what your goals are, then it can fundamentally shape how you build your site, how you add your content, and help you figure out what you need to track and measure on your site. You might see that, okay, well, I know that I want to see how many people visit my website, and I want to see how many of people them are new visitors. I want to see when people get to my website, what are they actually doing when they get here? And I might want to figure out ways to understand my audience better so I can create more content, more tools, more information that's more likely to bring them back and keep them there at my website even longer. So let's talk about how we track and measure. So I think I've started talking a little bit about why it's important. And now the next step is to figure out, well, okay, well, we know it's important. How do we actually do it? In a nutshell, there are 3 basic ways to do it. You've got your integrated tools, and lots of products, your email marketing products, most Google products, have integrated tools built right into them that can show you what's working, what's not, where it needs improvements. And we'll talk a little bit about that. There are also options to buy standalone tools. And those are services from other companies that can help you look at other pieces of your performance. And then, last but not least, it's not a tool, but I feel like it would be remiss for me not to mention it, is just talking to your customers. Now, that is anecdotal evidence, just asking a customer, like, well, what did you think? How did that work? So it's not the same as looking at a report and saying, okay, 3 people told me they didn't like it, but 70% of my folks are actually converting. But talking to your customers can give you ideas. It can give you ideas about things to test and ideas to try. And what you can do is you can use that information that you get from that direct communication with the humans who visit your business or call you on the phone, and then apply them as tests to your website and your online marketing campaigns. And then using the integrated or standalone reports, you can figure out what's working and what's not. But in a nutshell, you're always going to be testing. So let's start by talking about how to evaluate your website. So most of the folks here in the room have a website. But again, so it was about half, but that means half of you do not. So again, whether you've had your site for years or you're just getting started, you want to figure out a way, right away, to start tracking what's happening on that website. Because if you don't, you won't have any idea what's going on. And over time, even if you've just launched your site today and you have no visitors, getting that set up now will start to, over time, fingers crossed, people are coming to your website, give you the information that you need to make meaningful decisions about what you want to change or improve in your site. So there are 3 things that I'm going to talk about this morning that can help you do that. The first is called Google Search Console. You may have heard of this before. It used to be a tool called Webmaster Tools. And so that's what I called it for more than 10 years. So if I accidentally call it Webmaster Tools, that's why. But Google Search Console is the first one. Next, I'll talk about Google Analytics. And then third, I'll talk about a tool that doesn't require any setup at all, and it's Google's Test My Site tool. Okay, so let's start with Google Search Console. What exactly is this thing? So it is a free web-based service, it's a tool, that allows you to monitor and maintain your website's presence in Google's organic search results. So what it does is it basically gives you a view into how Google being the algorithm, the search bot, actually sees your web pages, which is really useful, right? Because if you think about how Google works, so when you do a search, how many of you have already done a search for something today? Everybody? You've probably done many today. So there are, every second of the day, let's see if I get this right, there are 40,000 searches every single second of the day. It's kind of astonishing, right? That's a lot of searches. So every time you do a search, you type in a word or a phrase that you want to find, you want to learn about, you want to know, go, do, or buy. And then what Google does is it looks at all of the websites, all of the web pages and resources that it knows about, and then it presents a search results page for you. And then you, as the searcher, look at those results and you pick the sites, the resources that are the best fit for what you're looking for. And most of us don't even really think about it. We just do a search and then we click, we're like, that's it, and then we go. So the job for you as a business owner is to help Google understand what your business is about via your website. Because if I'm looking for a dog walker in Los Angeles, and that's what you are, that's what you have, but your website, for whatever reason, isn't giving Google enough information to let it know that you have a dog walking service in Los Angeles, it's probably not going to be able to show me your website because it doesn't understand what you have. So that's why this tool is so important, because it is critically important for you as a business owner to make sure that Google understands what your pages are about. Otherwise, it's going to have a harder time showing that information to people when they do that search. So what you will do to actually get started, you will go to the URL google.com/webmasters, and you want to sign in with the Google account that you use for your business. So that can be a Gmail account, it can be another email address that you register. And then once you sign in, you're going to have go through this process of adding a property. And the property is simply your website. Then they're going to give you a variety of ways to actually prove that you're the owner. Because after all, we don't want anyone going in and seeing what's happening on your website and seeing what Google can see with your pages. So you actually have to prove that you own the site. And there are different ways to do that. One option is that they let you put a little snippet of HTML code up on a web page on your site. So if you can do that, you can access your web pages, and that proves that you own the site. Sometimes you can verify by going through your domain name provider. But you'll see the different options there. And once it's verified, you will be able to start seeing reports. Now, the reports are going to actually, they're going to start, as soon as you create the property, Webmaster Tools Search Console is going to start gathering that data and using it for those reports. So you can actually, even if your verification happens next week, you're already collecting data just by putting in there. But the data is there for about 90 days, and it's going to start rolling in incrementally. So you want to give it a little bit of time to get rolling and then go in and check. So why would you actually use this? Again, I think I've kind of started touching on it, but the first and most important thing that you can do with Webmaster Tools, with Google Search Console, is make sure that Google can actually access your website. You can see there are different tools within. One of them is called Fetch as Google, and it can actually tell you, all right, can Google access this web page, and what is it getting from that web page? So you can go through and make sure that your most important content, that the pages on your site are not actually being inadvertently blocked. You can also go into Google Search Console and ask them to remove content that you don't want to appear in Google's index. Keep in mind, though, that if it's a web page that you don't want to be indexed anymore, you should do that, but then you should also take it off the web. You can also go in there and you can hide pages. There's a tool where you can, it's called robots.txt, where you can actually go in and tell Google, the search engine, not to index specific pages on your site. So it's just not something that you want there out there on the index. You can see reports that tell you things like what queries, that is, what search terms brought visitors to your website. You can see things like which websites link to you, and you can see if your website works well on mobile devices. So that's just a taste of some of the reports that you can do within Search Console. Now, I find that, I get up there and I talk about these tools a lot, and I give these bullet points about what these tools can do for you. But sometimes I think a scenario might actually be more useful. So we paint a picture of what could be happening and how you could use the tool. So let's talk about scenario one. And let's imagine that you went to this class and you're like, oh, rats, I just realized that, Stasia told me that I needed to put in lots of content about my business, and I really don't have much of anything there. So I'm going to do a major site overhaul, and I'm going to add all this content into your site, and I'm going to launch it. Well, if you do that, you want to also go into Webmaster Tools, Google Search Console, and let them know about the changes. So you can actually go in, you can try that Fetch as Google to make sure that they can access the new pages. You can tell Google which pages to crawl or not to crawl. And then you can also go in and say, I'm going to submit a sitemap. And that's one of the tools that Google has that maps content and helps Google understand sort of the organization and the hierarchy of content on your website. So that's one situation where you would want to go in if you did a major change on your site and its layout and organization and content, where you could go in and use Google Search Console as an option to help you. The second one, let's imagine that, so you might see in Google's examples, a lot of times there's a fake business called Stasia's Bakery. Well, in fact, there is no bakery. I really should start it because I've been using it for years and years and years, but in fact, there's no bakery. But if I did have that bakery and I made a goof, and when I first registered it, I registered Stasia's Fantastic Bakery is the best bakery.com. Which, in my head was good to start, but actually my friends were like, actually, Stasia, that's pretty long. You might want to shorten that down because it doesn't even fit on a business card. So here's my scenario. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to change that domain name to simply stasiasbakery.com. But here's the problem. if Google had already known about my website, which was Stasia's Fantastic Bakery is the best bakery.com, it had indexed those pages. So if you went and did a search, you would find links to all the pages at that domain name. But now if I change everything to stasiasbakery.com, those links are not going to work, right? So what you want to do is you want to go into, well, one of the ways that you can make sure that this gets fixed is you can go into Google Search Console and you can actually tell it and basically remap the pages. Say, hey, when somebody goes to Stasia's Fantastic Bakery is the best bakery.com, now send them to stasiasbakery.com. So you can do that if you're going to be changing the structure and the URLs on your website. Another way, so you may have heard of something called a 301 redirect. It's a little technical. Another way that you can do is if you're working with a web development company, one thing that's really important, if you hire a web company to redo your website, make sure that before they relaunch your site, they have set up redirects so that your old web pages will now forward to the new URL structures. That's really, really important because if you have a good presence in Google, you don't want to lose it just because you've redesigned your website. Okay, let's talk about the third scenario, international content. So more and more business happens globally. We are doing businesses with customers all around the world in different languages, and there are various approaches to internationalizing our websites. One option is you can actually use a special tag that can show specific content to people based on where in the world they're searching from. So as an example, we can put those tags in and then we can use Google Search Console. I'm going to have that one stuck in my head today. Google Search Console to go in and make sure that our internationalized pages are actually working appropriately. So if someone was searching from Canada, if someone was searching from Mexico, they would see the pages that you had designated to be targeted to that particular audience. So those are just 3 of the ways that you can use Google Search Console to go in and actually help you manage your online presence. So think of it as your tool for your website being managed within Google's organic index. Okay, so that's tool number 1. Let's talk about tool number 2, and that is Google Analytics. Does anybody here use it? I'm assuming lots and lots of folks use it, right? So Google Analytics, for the folks who haven't, Google Analytics used to be a product called Urchin, and I used Urchin with my clients. Woo, there's a bee in my hair. Wow, that was a new one. I've never had a bee fly in my hair. And, okay. Hi, everybody. 12 years of speaking, that's the first. Okay, where was I? So Google Analytics. Yes, the strengths and weaknesses, you have to understand what's actually happening on your website. So I used to use it, here I am back on my train, when in the 1990s when it was called a product called Urchin. And it was a really expensive product for our clients. But then Google bought it and then they actually made it free. So now anyone can go in and create a Google Analytics account for their business. And it gives you these incredible reports that show you how people are getting to your website and what they're doing there. It shows you how traffic is being driven to your site and how those different channels, remember the different ways that you can be found online, work together to bring visitors to your site. It shows you if people get to your site, if they actually take that next step, which we call a conversion. A conversion is online success. And so if any of you are e-commerce websites or e-commerce businesses, it's very easy to understand what a conversion is, right? Because they go to your website and then they buy something. They give you their credit card and you're done. But for how many of you in the room are not e-commerce? I'm going to guess that's most. Yeah, it's a lot of you. For anyone out there who's not e-commerce, you also need to use this tool and you also need to figure out what online success means for your business. Even if you're not e-commerce, you need to have a goal. Because if you are not tracking and measuring success, you have no idea what you need to fix, what you need to work on, where you need to build your website in the most efficient ways. So even if you don't sell something directly on your website, figure out what it is that you want people to do when they actually get there. And then you can use this tool to set up a way to measure that. So that's what Google Analytics does. So let's talk about the principles of measurement. So if you are brand new to using analytics, one thing that I hear a lot when you sign in to Google Analytics is you see these reports, and you may actually even know, okay, I understand this is like a visitor report, and I know what this essentially means. But then you're like, well, what do I actually do with that information? I'm like, now I'm kind of stuck. And so before you get sort of drowning in that data, one thing that you can do is start by creating a strategy. Figure out, well, why am I actually doing this? What is it that I am trying to accomplish by going into Google Analytics? And then by doing that, you can identify your goals and your key performance indicators. Like, what is it that I would like to see people get to my website and spend a certain amount of time looking at these videos, because I believe, or my hypothesis, is that if they look at these videos and information, they'll be more likely to call me. And it's just something that you can start testing and tracking. So you have that hypothesis. And then third, you're going to start collecting data. With Google Analytics, you actually take a snippet of code and you put it on every web page on your site. Some people just put it on some of the pages. It's really better if you have it on every page, because that's going to give you a more complete picture about what's the activity on your website. So then you have the data collection process, and then what you'll do is you will look at the reports, and rather than just kind of muddling through the reports, you'll say, okay, I know what I was trying to do, I know what my goal is, and now I'm going to look at the reports that correspond to the data that help me answer the question being what the goal was in the first place. So let's look again at a few scenarios. So here's one. And a pretty basic one. Well, where are your sales actually coming from? And it might be that your bakery advertises online using search and display and social media, and it's working. Your business is doing really well. Things are selling. Those pies are going like hotcakes. But the problem is you don't actually know which of these channels is driving in those sales. And so what you can do is you can actually use Google Analytics. They've got acquisition reports that can help you understand which one of these channels are driving traffic. And you can also see how they work together. There are reports that show you how all of the different channels contribute to that particular conversion, like which one is an assist. So we saw that they clicked on an email link first, then they clicked on a URL, and then the ad was the one that ultimately led to the sale. So you can get a pretty holistic idea about how all of these pieces work together. And this will give you the information that you need to start making those changes and adjustments to make it work better. But without the information, you're just guessing. All right, scenario number 2, understanding what works. So you want to make your site useful and informative and authoritative on a particular topic. So you spend a lot of time and effort writing blog posts and making videos about how to make pies and how to decorate cakes and all that stuff. And it's fun. You like doing this stuff. You like making these videos. And at the end of the day, you're kind of like, well, okay, I just spent, like 3 months making all this cool stuff, but I have no idea if anybody reads it or watches the videos or does anything with them. I have no idea if that content actually leads into a sale. So what you can do is you can actually go into Google Analytics and see behavior reports. And you can see what people are doing when they actually get to your website, what content they are consuming. So one of the, and I talk about this story a lot because for me it's pretty poignant. One of the nonprofits that I do some work for, they have a grant from Google. It's from the Google for Nonprofits program. If any of you are nonprofits, if you go to google.com/nonprofits, you can apply and they give you all sorts of free stuff, like free advertising. Well, we set up Google Analytics for her, and we learned, based on her reports, that the actual top entrance page into her website was a Maya Angelou poem that had been published on her website maybe 10 years ago. Maybe more. And the interesting thing about it is that it's not part of the navigation. It's not in any way an important page. There are thousands and thousands of pages on her site with lots of newsworthy items. So this was what we basically call evergreen content. There's nothing really timely in the news about it. But for whatever reason, this is the page that brings in the most number of people into that website. So what do we do with that information? We know that we need to keep that page there. We know that maybe our audience is interested in getting more of this. Maybe we want to get more material. We want to make sure that that web page naturally leads people into other parts of the website. So you can learn surprising things about visitor behavior. And one thing to note, and this is from my experience not only working with small business owners, but as a small business owner myself, we are the experts in our industry. We know our business, our product, our services better than most people. We like to think. And at the end of the day, so the trap that we fall into is that because we are experts, we really start to think, well, this is how someone should search for it. This is how someone should be thinking about this product or service. But then there's that disconnect between how we think of our products and services and how our customers do. So you can use Google Analytics to really take a step back and see, all right, well, how are people really getting around my site and using my site? And you can learn some really surprising things. All right, so let's look at the third scenario. For anyone who is an e-commerce company out there, you can use Google Analytics reports to really see what's working and what's not with that online store. You can actually see reports, things like checkout behavior. You can see how far people get down in that checkout process, where they're abandoning their shopping carts. You can see how much you're actually making on a particular click to the final sale. So you can really get very specific numbers if you tie into your own systems. And Google Analytics will allow you to do that. So for anyone who has an e-commerce store, Google Analytics will give you all the information that you need to help you figure out where you can make those improvements in your platform and your checkout process and the pages on your website. Okay, let's talk about the third tool that you can use for testing your website. And this one's easy. So for Google Search Console and for Google Analytics, in both of those tools, you have to do something proactive with verification. With Search Console, you have to either upload that snippet or use a domain name provider to verify. And with Google Analytics, you have to put that snippet of code on your web pages. But this one is just a web page. In fact, you could all do it right now if you wanted to, but you don't have to. The website is testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com. And when you go to that web page, you will see the option to enter your URL. And that is going to help you test your mobile speed. And when you do it, it is going to show you a report with some results. It'll show you how fast that website actually loaded on a mobile device. So why should you use this test? Why do you actually care? Well, number one, first of all, as of 2016, more people access the internet via mobile and tablets than their desktop computers. So if it used to be that people would think about mobile optimization as a secondary strategy. When you would come in, you would say, hey, I want to build a website, and yeah, we'll just launch the site first, and then we'll figure out mobile later. Well, that's really the wrong approach now, because if you're doing that, you're losing more than half of your customers. So this exercise is actually thanks to, I wish I could take credit for it, but this is from one of my colleagues that was telling me about an exercise that he does with his audiences. And so you can do it or you can't, but everyone, you've got your phone in your lap, most of you do. And I want you to just close your eyes for 1 second and think about your website and think about what it looks like. Think about the colors, think about the fonts, think about the navigation, think about how you would get and do an activity or complete a conversion on your website. So is everyone, you kind of have that picture of what your site looks like in your head? Now, you can open your eyes. Think about what that picture that you just had. Were you thinking about your mobile version of your website, or were you thinking about your desktop version of your website? right? So most of us, and it's a fundamental shift, most of us, when we think about our websites, we are thinking about the desktop versions of our sites. But now we really need to start retraining ourselves to think about this as a mobile-first world. 50% of US web traffic is coming from these phones, and 50% of consumers who conduct a local search from a phone are visiting a store within a day. So it is really, really important that you pay attention. Now, mobile optimization, this tool is going to show you speed, which is critically important. The longer it takes a site to load, the more likely it is for someone to leave. But there are things that you can also do within your mobile website that can help. So, for example, look at these two screenshots here. So in this one, compare this one here, this script to this script. Which one do you think is a better mobile site? Right, this guy. Because if you look at it, the font is tiny. It's cursive. It's hard to read. There is, it's harder to get on the navigation. Sometimes websites actually have not enough contrast between the color of the background and the color of the text. Sometimes the buttons are so close together on a mobile phone that it's really hard to navigate. So really take a good look at your site and think about, well, what can I do to make it easier for people to get around and use my website? The good news is that a lot of the programs that are available today, those website builders that we just customized, a lot of them are already doing this or helping us with that from the start. So it will automatically optimize and change, respond to a user who's using a different size screen. But you, as the business owner, really need to do your due diligence and make sure that what people are seeing on these mobile devices helps them get to whatever that you need them to do. Now, when you get to the Test My Website tool, it's going to show you how quick the website is, and then it's going to show you how fast, and basically help you figure out how fast it can be. But basically, for any second, the average person will give a website about 3 seconds to load. And if your website doesn't load within 3 seconds, there's a really good chance that they're just going to hit the back button and try a different website. And for every second that you add to that load time, your conversion rate is going to drop. People are just going to go back and click a different website. So as you change and update and improve your website, go back to this tool, this Test My Site tool, and then check how fast your website is on a mobile device. This is also part of Google's algorithm when it's looking for website matches on mobile devices. So one of the things that we'll look for on the mobile results is a website that loads quickly and provides a good user experience. Because at the end of the day, that's Google's job. It is to show people who are doing searches information that will help them find answers that they're looking for. And your website might be the greatest resource in the world, but if it takes 35 seconds to load on a mobile device, no one's going to get to it, and it's going to be really hard to get people to wait 35 seconds to actually load up on that website. Okay. So now that is the website portion. Let's talk about a second way to evaluate and measure success. And this section is talking specifically about a tool called Google My Business. How many of you have heard of it or have it? Okay, wow, that's not a lot. All right, Google My Business is free. It is let's show you what it looks like. This is Google My Business. It is a business listing that you can set up for free that helps you control your business information as it appears across Google. It can show up in Google search results. It can show up on Google Maps. It can show images and maps and customer reviews, your hours of operation, information about your businesses. And it's absolutely free. The reason Google wants every business owner to proactively create, claim, and manage this listing is, again, Google's primary job is to connect searchers with information that they are looking for. And how many of you have ever gone to a business that you looked at the hours and it said they were open until 6, and you got there at 6 and you found out they closed at 4? And boy, is that frustrating, right? But if you have claimed your listing and your hours change, you can go in there and make those edits. And now it will happen right with Google Search and with Maps from that one place that you edit. So let's talk about things that you can do within your Google My Business listing. Incidentally, if any of you want to create this, the place to get started, we actually have a tool through our program at gybo.com/business. That stands for Get Your Business Online. .business, and you put in the name of your business, it'll give you back a diagnostic report and then lead you naturally through the process of creating or claiming your Google My Business listing. So the URL for that, for our program, is gybo.com/business. And later on, when like anything online, there's multiple ways to do the same thing. The way you get back to the tool is simply at google.com/business. That's the actual URL to get into the product. The product is called Google My Business. So you create or claim your listing, and you put in all of your business information, and then integrated right into the tool. You don't have to do anything else. This is where you're going to see these reports that will help you track and measure performance. So as an example, one of the things that you can see is how people actually searched for your business. So if we look here, we can see these are direct and discovery. What direct means is that there were 1.2 thousand people, 23%, of the 273 of the 1.2, 23% actually searched directly for the name of this business. They knew the name of it, they typed in the name of the business on Google Search or Maps, and it came up. Now, if we look at the other example, we see here that 77% of our traffic came from discovery searches. And that means that they were looking for a general thing. They were looking for a local skincare clinic, a local dog walker, and your business came up, and that's how they got to you. So what you can do with that information is you can understand if your business has brand awareness. Do people actually know about you yet? And then you can figure out, well, how do I want to actually work on building up brand awareness or not? Do I want to go in and improve my discovery searches? One thing that you can do with discovery searches, you have the ability to create or to select a category that goes with your business. But some people don't know that you can actually add up to 10 categories. So your first category would be your primary, but then you can add 9 more. Because if your business has lots of different nuances to it, adding those categories can increase the option, the possibility that you will show up on those different types of searches. Another thing that you can do to really help your business show up higher and be more likely to be displayed is to actually go in and put in all the information that you can. So make sure that you have all of that in there, your hours of operation, any kind of special information. You can also add holiday hours. So for example, if you were going to be closed for Thanksgiving, you could go in there and mark that my business will be closed on this day or open late on a specific day. Going in, once you've actually verified your list and claimed it, you can go in and you can respond publicly to reviews. You can go in there and you can manage photos. But the more you put into it, the more likely Google is to display the listing, and the more likely you're going to actually see things show up within your insights reports. Here's another interesting thing that you can see. You can see exactly where those searches are coming from. So it'll give you the breakdown. Well, did they find me on search or did they find me on maps? And so again, you can use that information to figure out where you might want to focus and add more information to your business listing. And third, you can also see customer actions. And so that tells you someone found my information. It surfaced on Google or Google Search or Maps as a Google business listing, and then someone clicked on it to visit my website, or they requested driving directions, or they actually called you, and they can track that if they're using a mobile device, which again is more than half of your visitors. And so you can use that to figure out, all right, well, how is this actually driving business to my site or to my location? Another thing that you can see is your phone call data. You can see when it actually happens. On Tuesdays, I get the most phone calls. And so it's pretty cool. So you can use that information to figure out, all right, I might want to have an intern come in and answer the phones on Tuesdays. Or I might want to make really sure that everything is up and running on these particular days of the week. So that's another way that you can get information directly integrated into this tool. Okay. So that's the second thing. Let's talk about the third thing. Let's talk about evaluating ad campaigns. So now we've talked about tracking and measuring on your website. We've talked about tracking and measuring on Google My Business, your free business listing. And third, we'll talk about online advertising. Anybody here advertise with Google? Some of you do, yeah. So lots and lots of businesses do. They advertise their products and services. And ads can appear at the top of the search engine results page, and at the bottom, and here at the top of the mobile devices. So to give you a 10-second lesson on advertising with Google, it's called PPC, CPC, which stands for pay per click or cost per click. And in a nutshell, what that means is that you don't pay Google for an ad to show on the page. You pay Google when somebody clicks on an ad or makes a phone call that's connected with the ad. And that leads them into your web presence. So you can think about it as a lead delivery system. Google's job is to get that person to your website or to your phone number. But once that person gets there, it's up to you. It's your job to make sure that the website loads quickly, that they can find what it is that they're looking for, that they can take that next step. So all of the things that I've been talking about today, about tracking and measuring, become critically important here because now you're spending money to get people to come to your website or to call you on the phone. And you want to make darn sure that when they do that and when they get there, they're able to take that next step. Because otherwise, you'll pay for a click, and then the chances are they'll hit the back button because they couldn't figure out how to go and buy the pie on stasiasbakery.com. So the way advertisement works is that it's basically a live auction. And let's just say that, okay, so bad news for me, I have stasiasbakery.com, and you all, every person in the room here, you all open competing bakeries. And you all want your ads to show up when someone searches for buy a wedding cake. And so the bad news for me is that now I've got all these people in this auction trying to show an ad on Google. But Google is going to look at a variety of factors, including the quality of my ad, how closely my ad answers the question, to figure out which one of these ads is going to show first and second and third on the search engine results page. And that's how that auction operates. Again, it's important to know that even if you compete in the auction, even if your ad shows up, you're not going to pay unless somebody actually clicks on that ad. So today I'm going to be talking about AdWords Express. AdWords Express is one of the two options that Google offers. It's a simplified version of the advertising tool that's designed specifically for small businesses. And it's really simple to set it up. You go to google.com/AWExpress, and that's how you get in the process. But basically, you go in, you will write an ad, you'll pick a category for your business, you will pick an area where you want your ad to show, a budget, and then you're done. And then everything else is taken care of from you. The nice thing about advertising with Google is that there's no contract, there's no minimum time commitment. You can log in 24/7, and you can change things, pause things, turn it on, turn it off. You have complete control over your ad campaigns. You're not locked into anything. But once you do that, and once you have it set up, then it's now going to be up to you to go in and look at your reports to make sure that everything is working as you want it to. AdWords Express has 3 ways for you to look at performance. You can look at your ad views, and that shows you how often your ad is shown where Google is going to display it. You can look at ad clicks, and again, this is what you're actually going to be paying for. And then you can also see phone calls, and that would be if you have the call reporting feature turned on with your ads. Let's take a look at this a little more closely. So this one is ad views. And what this tells me is that my ad is running and that my ad was viewed 63,745 times over this period of time. It also shows me information like, well, what devices were my ads displayed on? 77% of my ads were displayed on smartphones, and 9% on tablets, and 13% on computers. So this can help me figure out, all right, well, if I didn't think phones or mobile optimization was important before, the data is telling me it's pretty darn important now. And it'll also tell you where on Google those ads are showing up. Now this one here, this is ad clicks, and this is what you're actually paying for. Again, giving you that breakdown of devices and sources and the number of clicks that you received during that particular time period. And the third is call reporting. And so this is an option that you can turn on. And the way it works is that Google is going to assign a phone number, a temporary phone number, to your ad. When someone calls that phone number, it rings into your main number. So it's going to call you at whatever number you specify. But that way they can track it. They can say, OK, someone called this number that we had with this ad, and now it called into you. And that would basically essentially count as a click. And now that's your opportunity to further that sale once that customer calls. And so you can see, again, here, how many phone calls actually came in after someone had set up call reporting with your ad. There's one little bonus here. I talked about Google Analytics before when we were talking about our website. And you can actually tie AdWords Express into Google Analytics, which is great. Because now you'll be able to see from those reports if the money that you are spending on advertising is driving business via your ad campaigns. It'll show you whether it's working or not. And if it's not, that's your chance. You can say, all right, well, maybe I need to work on my ad copy, or maybe I need to tweak my website, or maybe I need to adjust my keywords. But it's going to give you information that lets you know whether or not this is a good investment for you and where you may need to make improvements. And you can do that directly from AdWords Express. Now, you can link them if you had set it up separately. The one thing that makes it easier if you're signed in with the same Google account, the same email address for both of them. But now you can do it straight from AdWords Express, and you can even create goals. So you can say, all right, I'm using AdWords Express, and my goal is to get somebody to fill out this form. And so you can use that, track the sort of a step-by-step process to help track, did they actually get to the thank you page for that form? And so it's really simple to do within AdWords Express. OK, so let's talk about what's next. So here are your to-do items for today. First of all, everyone who has a website here should create a Google Search Console account. Again, it is at google.com/webmasters. It is free. It is going to help you understand and improve how your website appears in Google's organic search results. So that's the first step that I would recommend for everyone here in the room. Go in and use those reports and see where you can potentially make improvements on your website. The second thing that everyone here should do is you should create a Google Analytics account. And that is at google.com/analytics. And from there, go through the process and tag the pages on your website, and that will give you just a wealth of information about what's working, about how your channels interact with each other. Basically, any question that you might have about your strategy or your online campaigns, you can pose the hypothesis, and then go to Google Analytics to find a report that helps you get the answers to those questions. Now, one thing to point out again, though, is that you might get the answers to the questions, but then it's up to you to actually implement the changes. So if you learn that, oh, this web page isn't working so well, then you have to go in and tweak it and test it, and then you'll be testing again. So for all of these things, you're never going to be finished. That's one thing I hear. I hear this from a lot of folks. I'm going to launch my website, but it's not quite done yet. So as soon as I finish this piece, then I'll launch it. As soon as I do this thing, I'll set up Google Analytics. Your website will never be done. Once you've set up these tools, you will constantly be testing and changing and tweaking and making improvements. Third, if you want to try advertising with Google, try AdWords Express. It is at google.com/awexpress. You can also get there through our program at gybo.com/awexpress. And I didn't put it on the slide, but don't forget that mobile testing tool. It's at testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com. And go in there every time you make a change to your website and make sure that your website loads quickly and easily on those mobile devices. Otherwise, you're leaving half of your traffic on the table. If you want to learn more, you can visit our website. It's at gybo.com. We have a section for lessons where you can learn lots of information about how to grow and succeed online, different digital marketing topics. And with that, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. My name is Stasia. I still have like 3 minutes, so I can take a few questions if you want. I can tell you how that bee felt in my hair. Scary. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, in the front, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a bunch. Are you going to be around after too?
Yeah, if you have questions, and because I know our time is short, you might have other sessions you want to get to, then I will be over in the back corner. And stick around. We have more talks coming up right after mine. So Bill will be back on stage as well. So stay here for his talk, and then come and see me if we don't have time. But I'll take a few questions while I've got a few minutes.
Okay,
yes.
hi.
Let's do one for you.
Okay, do one. So what are the Google multiple sites and subdomains? If we use a lot of subdomains that are connected to our website,
you can set up
will that increase our ranking or our SEO ranking or anything like that?
No, using multiple subdomains is not going to actually help you. They're useful for different reasons, and you can set them up and track them as separate properties, and so you can measure the performance of each one. But having separate subdomains, you're actually, from an SEO perspective, you're kind of making it harder because those are all separate properties.
Right, and
one more, and then we're going to take another person. All right, that's probably fair. All right, that gentleman right over there. Yes. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, actually I'm doing advertising on the Google. And
I'm sorry, hold it close to you. Yeah,
I'm doing advertising on the Google, the ads.
Yeah.
And sometimes I see like if somebody search, there is a picture like
so
purchased
the
by
images
Google.
above?
Yeah, buy by Google. That one how I can.
So those are called product listing ads, and they're through Google Shopping. I can tell you more about that later, but in a nutshell, what you do, if you have inventory, you can create what's called a Merchant Center account. You can upload your products into a feed, which makes it show up in Google Shopping, and then you can run ads based on those images that you see. So that's what you're seeing on those ads. So product listing ads or Google Shopping ads.
Where can I find the information about? Where can I find the information?
Go to Google and type in Google Shopping ads.
Oh,
or come see me afterward, and I'll be happy to show you the link.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll take one more, and then they're going to give me a hook and pull me off the stage. Yes, sir.
I'm Eddie Garcia, content creator. What is the role of video? I heard very little about video. Is this kind of an increase now with everyone going to video?
That's the thing. I could talk up here all day. Video is incredibly important, and especially for younger users. My 13-year-old daughter uses video, YouTube specifically, to navigate her entire world. So I would definitely focus on that as part of your content strategy. Set up a YouTube channel for all of your businesses as well. And it does not have to be the most high production, great video in the world. Unboxing videos are incredibly popular, where they show you how to set something up. You all know something about how to do something, your business, your products, your services. And so even just short snippets of you explaining something can help build that content and your authority as somebody who knows about what they're talking about. So great question. I'm really sorry. That's it for me for time, but I will be over there in the corner, or if they kick me out, maybe in the back of the room. I don't want to disturb the next speaker. But thanks again. I really appreciate it. We'll be back at 1:30.
Nobody can drag me down.